Hey everyone, it's Arminder here, and in this video, I'm going to do a side-by-side tasting of these two single cask Trinidad rums. What we have here is the Raising Glasses Jablesse, and then the Maison and Velier Flag Series 2002 Trinidad. Now, why am I doing this? Because these are very, very similar rums. I'll get into the stats in a second, but also these two rums, when they came out, this one came out late last year, and this one came out mid to late the year before. Both were kind of very hyped and buzzy releases, and when these came out, they kind of sold out kind of right away, and they were so well reviewed and well regarded. And the Trinidad, the Flag Series Trinidad, was my favorite rum of that year, and I absolutely adore the Jablesse, which came out late last year, and I just think it'd be a good opportunity to kind of see these two big kind of at least in the rum nerd circle, these kind of really well-regarded, hyped releases, like how similar and how different they are. You know, because as I've been talking about the Jablesse over the last month or two, I've kind of said that it plays very much in the same flavor profile as the Flag Series, but I've never actually done a side-by-side, so that's what we're going to do now. And in terms of stats, they're made from the same distillery, Trinidad Distillers Limited. They're the folks that make Angostura, and because it's Trinidad Distillers, it's molasses-based, column distilled, and both were, they're distilled a year apart. This one was distilled in 2002, this one in 2003, and both are about the same age. This one's 20, this was 21 years, and it was aged 15 years first in Trinidad, and then another 5 years in the UK, and it's bottled at 63.1% ABV, where this one was also aged 15 years in Trinidad, and then another 6 somewhere in the UK, actually not the UK, somewhere in Europe. So it could be the UK, could be Amsterdam, I don't know. So yeah, they're pretty much very close to being the same rums, and in fact, they are the same mark. They are both the TML mark, which, look, straight up, there isn't a whole lot of information about, unlike, say, like Hamden or Worthy Park, where there's lots of information and they will willingly share their kind of detail on their production process and their different marks. Trinidad Distillers does not, or at least not that I've come across. So there isn't a whole lot of parse and find online about TML. According to one source, it might stand for Trinidad Main Light, potentially. That being said, it does not taste like a light rum. My guess is the TML mark is a heavier, if not super heavy, for Trinidad Distillers, a heavy distillate. So even though Angostura has, or I keep on saying Angostura, but really Trinidad Distillers, they have a couple of multi-column still setups. So a multi-column has like, I think 5 different stills. For their heavy distillate, they only use the first one. So it retains a lot more of the flavors created during fermentation, is a lower ABV. And if I had to guess just based on the taste, I imagine it's that or a lot of a heavier, medium to heavier distillate compared to some of the things that you get from Angostura, their 5-year, the 7-year. That stuff is so light and thin. This is absolutely, both of them are absolutely nothing like those rums. And so I think they're truly spectacular. But what I want to know right now is how similar or how different they are from each other. So that's what we're going to do. So let's start off with smelling the Jablesse. So what I get here is a little bit of a smoke, but it's more of like a electrical kind of note, intermingled with maybe a little bit of tropical fruit like a lychee. There's almost like, there's lychee, but there's also like a darker fruit element here. Maybe even like a little bit of like a dark cherry. Really nice aroma. And there is little notes of mint, dry mint, potentially on the aroma. Very complex, a lot of flavors, a lot of layered flavors, but really, really nice. But now let's smell the Flag Series. Oh, wow. This is, on the aroma, it is much more pronounced, the smoke. It's not peated like Scotch. There's not a Scotch aroma, but it's a very distinct, almost nutty kind of smoke, actually. Yeah, there's definitely, up until now, I've drank a lot of this rum, and I've smelled a lot of this rum. I don't know if I've ever clocked the nuttiness to the aroma, but it's a nutty, almost like a peanut aroma blended in with some dry smoke. And again, maybe mint, but maybe more veering into menthol. So, I will say two very different aromas. I think this is a brighter aroma of the Jablesse, and the Flag series is a little bit more heavier, more kind of deeper aroma and less bright compared to this. Though I think if you were to smell this against certain other rums, you would say this is like really heavy and dark on the aroma. That dark cherry and some of that dry mint. But here is that nutty smoke aroma. So, even though they are the same mark and they're distilled a year apart, I think very clear differences on the aroma. All right, let's give the Jablesse a taste. And I'm hopefully saying that correctly. Probably not, and that's okay. Cheers. Very dry. Love that. It is, right now at least, as I'm talking now, as I'm letting it kind of coat my throat, it is all mint. 100% mint from start to finish. Now, it is not just like standard mint, like mint flavoring. It's more complex than that, more layered than that. It's all sorts of mints. It's like a bouquet of mints. You get this multifaceted mint that has some vibrancy, some brightness on the palate. Then you get other ones that are a little more vegetal, other ones that are a little more dry. Crispy mint, almost like leaf-like, like a dried leaf. All those flavors are kind of like bouncing around on my palate. Really, really lovely, lovely rum. There is, once your palate's kind of gotten used to that a little bit, there is underneath there a little core of like a little bit of light oak, but that's not the dominant player. It's totally the mint. It does have a lively, almost electrifying presence on the palate. It's a very zippy rum. It's a very electric rum. It's just kind of, it comes alive on your palate. All right, let's go now to the Flag series. Again, that nutty smoke on the aroma was a trip. But anyways, cheers. So, this is totally doing a whole different thing. So, it has some mint for sure, but it's not as much of the high, bright notes of mint that I got in the Jablesse. And, that kind of nuttiness that I was talking about earlier on the aroma and some of that smokiness I am getting on the palate. Yeah, I would say the dominant note here, even though there is mint, is on the kind of on the back end. The thing that really stays with you is some of that kind of nuttiness. There's almost like a meaty, or maybe I wouldn't say full-on umami, but like a slightly meaty, nutty kind of note that kind of lingers. But within that, there's also like a layer of raspberry as well, like a really nice kind of maybe slightly overripe raspberry. Actually, more than the mint, I get a lot of menthol on this. Lots more menthol. It's very layered and kind of complex. It very much feels like this, what's the word I'm looking for? Very mysterious and primordial. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just, there's something alluring and mysterious about this rum with all these really interesting flavors. Now, having gone back to the Jablesse, what's really become apparent to me is that this one, what it doesn't have that the Flag has like a some bass notes, like some more kind of heavier tongue coating notes, some just like lower register notes. The Jablesse now feels thinner, brighter, more kind of high notes, but less body, less texture to it. Where the Flag series feels more mouth coating, a little more oilier, a lot heavier in terms of a mouth feel. In a way, the Flag series feels a little more dirtier as well. That's part of the kind of heavy, oilier mouth feel. It just feels a little more grimier. Now, most of the action on the Jablesse is happening initially and in the middle, and then it kind of disappears a little bit, kind of on the last third of the experience on the palate, but then right at the end, and kicks in with a little bit more kick of mint, and that's where you get a little bit of that oak coming in. But it definitely does now feel thinner in comparison. I hadn't clearly, when I first drank this before going over to the Flag series, hadn't noticed that at all. Wasn't a problem. Didn't feel like I was missing anything. So I would say, honestly, they are not substitutes for one another. To me, at least, as I'm trying them now, they feel and taste like two different rums with some overlap, maybe in certain aspects of maybe some aspects of the mint and maybe variations on different kinds of smoke, but they are two different sipping experiences, in my opinion. Now, which one's better? I mean, that's entirely subjective, right? That's not the question to ask. Which one do I prefer? Well, honestly, that's a time and place kind of question, right? In this moment, if I could only go to one of them right now to sip on for the rest of the evening, I think I'm in the mood for the brighter, more complex, minty note of the Jablesse right now, for sure. But what I will say, now having had another sip of the Flag series, is if I want to just have a pour, like about this much, and I want to sit on that couch over there and just like contemplate the mysteries of life and what's going on in the world and all of that, and just sit there by myself in silence with the rum and just kind of live in its layers and its complexity, then I think I want to do that with the Flag series. So again, it's all about time and place, but I'm here to tell you, in my opinion at least, they are very, I'd say, in certain aspects, they're very different tasting rums. And I think that's great. Well, unfortunately, if you missed out on this and you're hoping to kind of get this experience here, it's not a one-for-one at all. But if you are fortunate enough to have this bottle, I would say don't feel like you don't need to get this, which is not what you might want to hear because you were hoping to save some money maybe. But if you have this, don't think you need to skip this. I think if you like this, I think you will absolutely also like the Jablesse, and it's different enough that I think it's worth searching for. Both truly special rums, and I'm really glad they're part of my collection, and two really prized parts of my collection. So to wrap it up, really, to me, the bigger takeaway is like, holy shit, like Trinidad distillers make some fantastic rums, like real talk, like amazing rums. But the thing is, you would never know that because what they put out under their own brand, Angostura, frankly, like the 5-year and the 7-year, those aren't good rums. Like they're average at best, if I'm being kind. But for the most part, I don't think they're that interesting or frankly drinkable. There's just nothing there at all. They're frankly bland, and that's a bummer. That being said, what I have here is, they have a quote-unquote premium line of rums, and this is the 1824 that they release. It's 40% ABV. At one point, it was, I don't know if it was listed or it was, kind of known as being aged a minimum of 12 years, but there's nothing on the website that says that anymore, and there's nothing on the label. So I would have to assume that it's not 12 years old. It's probably a blend. Maybe there's some 12-year-old rum in here, but I bet there's younger rum in here as well. But this was a rum that really made me kind of get me into the hobby or the habit of buying bottles of rum and displaying them on my shelf. There's a whole thing. There's a whole video about that. But I haven't had this in a while now. But I remember liking this a hell of a lot more than the 5 and 7 year from Angostura. But let's pour some of this and see if it holds up at all against these two. I mean, it's kind of unfair. There's no way this is gonna. It's definitely not gonna taste as good as these others. But I guess what I'm more interested in is, does it have some of the notes that I got in either of these two? I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's let this open up real quick. Well, I will say this doesn't really smell like a whole lot of anything right now. That part of that is going to just be the low ABV. I get a little bit of orange peel, a little bit of oak, maybe the hint of like a bright red cherry. But all right, let's give it a taste. Cheers. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. So the first 90% of the experience, it is thin, it's watery. There's a little bit of generic sweetness. I'm sure there's a little bit of added sugar to this. I got like orange peel, a little bit of your caramels, kind of your generic kind of aged rum flavors for sure. And it was, frankly, definitely a disappointment. But it was always going to be a disappointment when you coming off of like 260 plus percent ABV rums, like, and that are so expressive and flavorful. But on the finish, on the back end, there is the faintest note of a little bit of minty menthol smoke. It's like a little, whatever that is. That's not a punch. I don't know what this is, but whatever. A little dab of that note. Now, I don't know if that's because I already have that on my mind after having been sipping those, or if I was just having this in isolation, I'd still pick that up, but I see it. I see some of, very lightly, very faintly, some of the flavors of the Jablesse and the Flag Series Trinidad there. Again, for a second, maybe even less than a second, but it was there, undeniable. But you had to go through 90% of this rum. It's thin and watery and frankly kind of not complex, kind of boring to give you that. But at least some of the DNA is there. So maybe there is some amount of the TML mark in this rum. Potentially. We'll never know because they'll never share it. All that to say that, like, clearly, you know, Trinidad Distillers makes fantastic rum and they have access to it in their Angostura product. But I wish Angostura or the brand would put out rums coming even close to the quality of these independent bottlings. Like, I would love that. Look, I love Raising Glasses. I love Maison and Velier, and I'm okay and happy to give them my money. But if I have the ability to take that money and give it to the actual producer, I would love to do that. I would love to give that cash, the $150 that I think this was, and the $80 this smaller size was. Yeah, I would want to give that directly to Trinidad Distillers if they can put out rum of that quality. And clearly they're capable of that because this is proof of that. But they don't release that. Now, you know, the reality is, they are a large distillery and they're not in the business of putting out single cast releases. Like, it just doesn't make any economic and financial sense for them to do that kind of thing. Probably. I mean, there's a way to make that work, I'm sure, but you know, that's what they would tell you. That it just doesn't make sense for them to focus on a single cask release, right? But that's okay. You know, I think what they should do is take their heavier column still distillate like this and blend a bunch of casks together in a way what Appleton does with their Hearts collection, right? It's not a single cast release, right? It's a vintage release, a blend of a number of different barrels. I'm going to make up a number here, but it's over 100 barrels. Maybe it's 200. I don't know, whatever it is. It's a large volume. So suddenly the math makes sense now. Now they can put out a product that has tons and tons of bottles, but it has high caliber, high quality distillate, well aged in it. And I don't see why Trinidad Distillers can't do that under the Angostura brand. I would love for them to do that. I would happily give them my money. Even if it was half of the quality and flavor of these two rums, I would be excited for that. You know, you always want to root for the, you know, the home team and you know, the people who are making this stuff. And I want to. So here's hoping they will watch this video and entirely change how they do things from watching this dumb little YouTube video. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but one can wish, one can hope. So there you go. That is my quick. I mean, I'm sure this is 20 plus minutes now. Video of me working through my way through these two. So I'm curious, have you tried either one of them? What are your thoughts? And have you done a side-by-side? And am I tripping or am I right? Do they taste fairly different? And I guess, do you have a favorite, or what would you drink in this current moment? And do you also wish Angostura would put out rums of this caliber? Let me know by leaving a comment down below, and thank you so much for watching this video. Catch y'all later. Peace.